Gundam GQuuuuuuX.
Quacks.
GQuuuuuuX.
Gundam G Nesquik.
Well, we just finished watching it.
Yes.
And I had a great time. I thought it was great. Emily, Steve talked about it in our last pod, but what do you think?
So this is my only other Gundam experience is Wish for Mercury.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say this one was very dense. I was confused the first 30 minutes.
The first episode part of it.
Yeah, the first episode. So I think it's 3 separate episodes that they kind of crammed together to make it into like a movie feature.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And so like I know nothing about the lore of Gundam, the background, really anything. And so to jump in and like I don't know who the guy was.
Well, I guess that's a good segue into like explaining what it is and what it's about. Yeah.
What any like the background, I just know Gundams are machines.
Well, so just for context though, so this is your second Gundam besides Wish for Mercury.
Right.
I've seen Seed Freedom, G Gundam, a bit of Wing, and Wish for Mercury.
Wing,
I've seen almost
Orphans.
no UC. So
yeah, I've seen very little UC.
What's UC?
Universal Century, which is so this whole
welcome to Gundam.
Welcome to Gundam. Yeah, so this whole
now a Gundam lore.
This whole story takes place in an alternate universe of Universal Century. So you're gonna see like spoilers.
Yeah, let's go
spoilers.
Let's start avoiding the things that are spoilers. Just general stuff you would have gotten from the trailer.
But I do want to get
we can get into it just high level.
So it's an alternate universe, UC universe, and it has characters from the UC universe that you've seen before. But we explore the Federation versus Zeon and how that sort of shakes out in the first episode.
Yep.
And then there's a time jump to show how the effects of that war have shaken out in the future. And then we start following a new person, and their discovery of Gundam.
It kind of reminds me of like cyberpunk edge runners.
So, cyberpunk.
The colony that they live in kind of has that vibe. Yeah, so we're introduced to Machu, who's the red-haired girl you've seen, Nyan, who's the blue-haired one, and Shuji, the blue-haired girl, and then the blue-haired boy is Shuji, who has a little Takun-type robot on his head.
Yes.
And they become, maybe not the only protagonists, but the next 2 episodes feature much more heavily on them. And that's kind of the shift from, this feels very, very Gundam, to this feels very, very Gainax.
It feels very
And you can
Gainax.
tell that a bunch of people who were former Gainax in its heyday are working on this. From the writing and the directing and the mecha usage and certain cuts and color choices.
Yeah. So why don't we try to structure it since it's just fresh in our minds.
I just wanted to say the high-level stuff. Like maybe let's just say real quick, did we enjoy it overall before we go into spoilers? Like just some stuff that people can digest before they decide if they want spoilers.
I think as a movie, as a feature, it's not. I don't think it stands up to like Jujutsu Kaisen 0. Was it Jujutsu Kaisen 0?
That was its own one story.
Yeah.
This is clearly 3 episodes.
I also don't think it stands up to like the prologue in Oshinoko.
Oh, okay.
Which I think is like the best.
The hour and a half.
Because that's an arc.
Yeah.
This didn't feel like an arc.
This feels like the beginning.
They call it GQuuuuuuX Beginning, and it is the beginning of the anime.
Yeah, but it does feel more like a movie than the first 3 episodes of Dandadan when they spliced it as a movie.
Yeah, that's
I will say, like, as a movie, it's as the beginning of an anime, I think it's very intriguing, and I think there's a lot that can be explored in the future and a lot of space where this can go, and it shows so much potential for this anime as a whole. So I'm very excited to see it.
Emily?
Yeah, I mean, it honestly felt like watching 2 different
movies
or shows, right? Like the first one is very like, I don't know if this is the right word, but like old school mecha, like the art style is
the sound effects,
the sound like
the monitors, the screens in their Gundam,
even the character design,
super 80,
80s,
like everything is like
it's just nouns every five words,
and then it's like a very abrupt shift to like, I don't know if chibi is the right word, but like more like
a more modern style
character.
We're following high schoolers now.
Yeah, like it felt like 2 different. It was like, all right, now that you have like the backstory, now it's like, okay, let's jump into the real story. So it felt a little disjointed to me because it was so jarringly different.
Yes,
in the art style.
But overall,
I mean, overall, I think it was fine, right? Like, I'm going to continue watching it to see where it goes, but I'll say, like, if it was all, like, that first 30 minutes, I probably would be like, okay.
That's enough.
I don't know if this is for me.
It's not beginner friendly.
Yeah, it's not beginner
friendly. It feels to me the same way that, like, Witch from Mercury does, where it's, hey, we're trying to make Gundam approachable to a wider base of anime fans than just mecha shows typically are, because I'm kind of the same way where I want to start watching UC this year, but it's not my vibe, and as soon as they introduce the kids, I'm like, okay, this is more how I can get into Gundam.
Yeah.
Yes, where that first episode is like, hey, Gundam fans, this is different,
like
but
ode.
Like you're stay with us.
Here's 80 things you'll recognize, but it's different and twist, and that's enough for you. And then for me and Emily, they're like, and here's some kids, and the art style's different.
One for you, one for me.
Here's some sparkly boys and girls.
Yeah, and I'll just say I did see this one in theaters last night for the North American premiere, and it is worth. If you're interested, it was worth seeing it in theaters. It's just a cool experience seeing like a former Gainax
I can imagine it being really cool
Gundam
in a theater setting.
Like,
yes.
So if you have the chance to see it in IMAX or theaters, you want to do it. I'm still gonna watch the anime, obviously, but it was a cool movie experience.
So let's start with story.
Yep.
So you had talked about the first portion. I guess it's 3 distinct episodes.
Spoiler warning at this point.
Yeah, spoiler warnings.
There's some real spoilers, by the way. It's some of the stuff we're gonna say is like really spoiler.
Yeah, I want to like. I mean, it's the first episode, but like,
I guess in the first episode there's nothing huge spoilery. It's the thing in the second episode and the third that's big.
Yeah.
Okay.
But okay. So
well, now I feel dumb because I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, so you explained the first episode was very much we're going into Universal Century, and we're fighting the war between the Zeon and the Federation.
Yeah.
And in this case, it ends with Chara's Noble disappearing and the war basically ending, which is insane that they just did that in the first episode. But to Emily's point, even I had a very hard time following along. Like I was familiar with all these terms. I haven't really watched much of Universal Century, but I was familiar with what it is. Yeah. As much Gunpla as I have. Like I love Gunpla. Gundam is different. Yeah. I wouldn't say I'm a Gundam expert, but it was very dense, very heavy, and if you don't have a background in it, you can get lost really easily. Like at times, my eyes were just glazing.
Yeah, I've not watched any UC, so like I'm like I know Char, and like when he steals the gun, I'm like I know this is not normal, and they're making fun of what's normal, but then all the other names getting thrown around. I'm like I don't,
and they're not like
I don't understand what this is.
They're not like straightforward names.
No.
Oh no, they're not.
There's other new nouns in this, like the solar ray and the Zeknova, and I'm like I don't know what those mean.
There's so much.
I'm sure that's going to come up later, but Gundam loves to drop proper nouns that you'll find out in 10 episodes.
yeah.
Like they kept on saying like Mav.
You're going to forget this. Yeah, 3 episodes in they didn't tell us what Mav was, just that it's a tactic, but not what it stands for. We just know it's an acronym. So
the first episode, I think, if you watch it episodically, like the first episode, I don't think is indicative of the series.
Yeah. I feel like if it was, that's a definite plus of it being a movie, because if it's clearly that's the first episode, and then it kind of goes into the broader story. Yeah. But if I were just to watch the first episode, I would be like, all right, like this is like a 1 episode and then drop for me.
Now that you say that, I wonder if they're gonna air this whole thing as a beginning, because people who are not familiar with UC will bounce hard off of this episode, probably just from not knowing what it is. And it really benefits from being a movie of like, hey, it's not all actually going to be like this. We just need to give you the... They don't need to, but we want to give you this background for the Gundam fans to hook you in.
It would be interesting... Like, I was thinking about it when I was watching it. I was like, what if, instead of it being its own episode unto its own, they, like, splice this within... the season as it went on.
That could be interesting.
Or
at least the first couple episodes it splices in.
Or if it was like episode 4.
Yeah.
Like you go through 3 episodes and you're like, oh, well, this is fun. Whoa, it's so deep. I didn't realize that there was all this lore behind it.
Yeah, you technically don't have to have that information in the first episode. It's helpful in the second.
Yeah. But like not... But then first episode was, I think for us 3, just weird. It was
fun. I mean, there's a lot of the nods. You got some of them. I got some of them. Where I'm like, okay, this is funny that they're doing it.
But then it quickly shifts in the second episode. If you want to, either of you want to.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said what I needed to say. I would have dropped it if it was just the first episode.
Yeah. Second episode. So we're on the colony. Awesome colony design. Again, this is really where you start to see
like a time jump.
All the skills that you recognize from any Gainax show, like Eva, with the way the robots move, and the screws going in the helmet and everything, and the color design, the writing is very clearly like their stuff, and the character design too. So we get these 3 kids. Machu, the red-haired like free spirit one, is in the subway and then gets Yuri tackled by blue-haired Nyan, yeah, who's running in a deli eats backpack or whatever.
Nyan might as well have been on a Vespa.
Honestly,
yeah.
yes.
On an e-bike.
Yeah, crashes in, like sneaks something she was running as a courier into her bag, and like they run into each other.
Looked like a hard drive or something.
Yeah, have another Yuri moment where they like crash and it's all Yuri, and then Machi's like, "Are you a terrorist?"
What a great question. Are you a terrorist?
Yeah. So they meet, and then she's delivering something to like a mech team who fights in clan battles, which they just immediately name drop because, of course, now we're in like the Witch from Mercury era where people use Gundams for like
fun,
recreational
battle,
or like cockfighting rings.
Yeah, they're like tools. They're not weapons of war.
In this universe, civilians have access to mechs. They just can't access the weapons, but you can use these stolen drives to make them work with weapons.
Yeah.
So they meet, and then through a series of events, the military there and Bull, who was Char's Mav partner,
right hand man.
Yeah, they have a new Gundam called the GQuuuuuuX, and it has a Omega Psychomu device to control it nouns. Ends up in the city. They almost damage the area that the kids are in.
Everyone gets almost smushed.
Yup, the team that they're with, they delivered the drive to. Machu jumps in the Gundam, or the Zaku, ends up getting close to this other Gundam, and in like a clear Gainax cool moment, jumps out of the cockpit of one, running jump with like a Haru with a hat flowing,
and lands right in the cockpit.
Yup, and then theme song hits, and the samurai helm of the Gundam pops up, and cool battle in space.
Yes.
And Red Gundam shows up, and then we're seeing this beautiful light stream Kira thing that feels like it's out of the
Kira, which is
movies.
An onomatopoeia
for like bright, shiny kind of thing. And then cool battle. She suddenly knows what to do because there's new types, Gundam noun. Magically
basically
understand how
like
to
you're like neurologically linked, I guess.
Psychomu.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very Mary Sue, but like it's Gainax.
It's Gundam.
It's let it happen.
Not only was I not bothered by it, I loved that it happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then the story is like it's all about clan battles and like how normal people are trying to live in this world, and not much more is explained. I mean, I don't want to get into too much spoilers, but like you meet some things from episode 1 that were once thought lost. So
we meet the third character, Shuji, who's like this weird
like
Luna Lovegood type, where he's like a little off. He sniffs people when they show up,
but has like Shigaraki design.
Yeah, he has like a shoujo moment with Machu, and you're like, are they all just gonna be bi for each other?
It's interesting.
Yeah, but goofy series of events leads the 3 of them to team up, kind of, and then it leads into like, okay, we're starting to see some stuff from episode 1.
Yeah, now it's starting to like, by the end of this movie, I think it doesn't explain what the whole series is going to be about, but you
kind of know the direction.
You know the direction, and you get a feel for what it's going to be.
You've got the kids, you've got the military party, you've got whatever's going on with this colony and the relationship between Zeon and the Federation, and we have enough here to go 24 episodes.
Yeah.
Like in a bowling analogy, I would say like the pins aren't set yet, but you know there are pins.
You can't see the pins in the back.
yes, because of the something particles.
Mike Trovsky.
There's so much dense stuff. Okay, so story is cool. It sets it up. What did we think about like I guess theming wise, I thought this Witch from Mercury is really gay, but this is a really gay anime. Yeah. There's a lot of Yuri and yaoi and normal hetero moments, surprisingly.
In a like more cutesy way than in a aggressive.
Yes,
You know, like not kind of 18 plus anime way, or not 18 plus, but like when anime is getting really suggestive, it's like soft fun.
Stuff. Like you thought Witch from Mercury was like soft fun yaoi or Yuri. This is one they're even like softer Yuri.
Each other.
It's like more explicit, but like it's more innocent.
Yeah,
and sparkles.
So much sparkles.
Yeah. So like thematic, and then like Char and
Char's so cool
like
this one.
It can get really there's going to be some good dojin about this whole thing, I think.
I mean, for me, it was like nice that it wasn't just all mecha. Like they have those like softer, like how the use of colors was really like pretty.
Yes.
And nice. Like it's not just like harsh, sharp edged lines.
Yeah.
Like a typical mecha show is, which is what I like.
Yeah. So what did you think about the visual design, like including the Gundam? So you liked the way they did humans?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the way they did humans, and I think the fights were really cool. Sometimes I couldn't really tell what was happening, but
that's Gundam.
I think that's just there's just a lot of movement. But I mean, overall, I think I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and I like how they're. It's not just like every Gundam looks exactly the same.
Yes, it is.
It's not just all red or all blue or like all look like the Unicorn Gundam. Like they all kind of.
How dare you?
No, meaning like this. There's not just primary colors on a Gundam.
Okay, all right. What did you think about the visual design?
I really liked it. I think the colony looked really cool and the colors there, and like when Machu and Nyan were running around and the blues and pinks blending was
very Gainax.
Yeah. The Kira was so cool.
The way they do their eyes is so pretty.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And I thought the sound was really good too.
Mm-hmm.
Some shows it's like very half-assed, for lack of a better word. Like they did a really good job with all the sound effects in this one.
The sound effects were great, and like the first episode where it was very original, like they used a lot of old sound effects.
Yeah.
And old visual effects,
and it looked different. It looked a little different. It felt like an older Gundam, which makes sense because this is all the Gainax folks finally getting their take on Gundam.
Yes, and
so
then
that was their nod to like, here's what it was, and then they're like, here's how we're adding some
this is
stuff
how
to it.
our interpretation.
Yeah. I thought the visual design was a lot of fun. I liked the way that they reinterpreted the Zaku's, like they really thick-thighed Zaku's.
Thick Zaku's.
Yeah, thick. But you could see the Eva influence in it. Like the way that each mech was designed, it was very thoughtfully designed, and like little things like the crest coming out, like with the screws coming undone.
Yeah, that's the same thing as screws coming out of an Eva when it's about to shoot up through the tube.
Yes.
It's that exact animation.
Yes. Oh, even shooting out of the tubes, like the way they launched the Gundam, it's like they planted their feet and it literally slingshots them out. Like all those things are so well considered in this universe. So like all the visual design I thought was very good.
Even the new pilot was more shaky getting shot out of the launcher. He wasn't as used to the movement. He's not as good of a pilot, so there was a bit of a stutter.
Yes. And then like when they got like a little more heated in their fight, like he was moving in his cockpit.
Yeah. Well, I like the way he was driving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in the 3D,
I was like, no wonder you're not doing anything good. You're just like,
he's just out of school too.
It's like when you like autocorrect in Mario Kart and you're like,
I remember thinking like they're like, he just got out of this school, and I'm like, you're putting your super awesome Gundam in the hands of like a recent graduate, and then he fails, and then of course, like any anime, a bunch of middle schoolers are going to be better at it. He was too old to pilot the Gundam.
Oh, it was. Yeah.
But the 3D, because we were talking about that. What'd you think?
I thought they did a good job. I mean, obviously there's a use of 3D throughout, especially to aid the fights.
Khara did a bunch of that in the Evangelion movies.
Yeah. But it's not distracting. It doesn't take you out. They find a way to make it still feel within the same
part of
animation.
It doesn't feel out of place.
Yeah, and I mean it helps that it's all mecha, so you don't have to worry about like bending really, because it's really just
or like hair
things
flowing.
It's like folding and making sure things don't collide.
Episode 5, there's a Gundam with like a full flowing locks.
We get an Escanor thing where it's just the Gundam like growing in scale and then shrinking in scale.
So overall, feeling pretty positive about it.
Yeah, the animation was really good.
Yeah,
it was really good. The moments we got, I thought it was or at least the fights, they didn't do too much fighting.
No.
Like there was a lot of fighting in terms of time, but like the actual movement of it they used it sparingly, effectively, but sparingly.
Yeah.
And
it might just be earlier episodes, and once like it's Gundam, the scale will probably grow as we proceed, and maybe there'll just be more of it later in the series versus this is more like one-on-ones.
Yeah. Oh, and then I have something for the Gunpla community. So a lot of the Gunpla community was disappointed by the new Gundam design.
Both of them? Or...
Both of them.
Oh, okay.
I think just because it strayed so far from what we're used to seeing.
Yeah.
But there was all this hubbub like, oh, maybe once you see it in motion, it'll make sense and you'll like it more. And once you see it moving, you're like, all right,
this is pretty cool.
I get it. Yeah. It's cool.
Because I'll see it. Yeah. When I went to the premiere last night, they had some of the models of the GQuuuuuuX, and it looked so cool. These are like more like the metal builds, not like full.
Oh yeah, the full metal builds.
But I was like, this design looks great. I can't wait to see it moving. So
good. Oh yeah. And then I know you're gonna do like a whole thing on it, but as somebody who is a huge fan of Gainax and Fooly Cooly and Ava and Trigger and all that, what do you think about like the Easter eggs and their incorporation of their own visions?
So I already mentioned it a little bit, but it's very clear that they worked on this. Like more so in episode 2 onward, like there's just so many little things where you're like, oh, this feels very familiar to like character design and behavior from Fooly Cooly and all the mech stuff from Ava. And I didn't watch Die Buster, but I know that like similar, there's mech elements there, Utena, and I won't say I can totally see Enokito's writing yet, but like some of the characters, like there's a guy who reminds me so much of Nautz's classmate from Fooly Cooly. Oh, and you pointed out, I didn't catch this, instead of Wikipedia, it's Foolypedia, which is just such a nice little throw.
Very little.
It's a little nod.
That you're like, Gainax has such a large library to throw little references into that I can't wait to see how many others they put in, including the woman who voices Haru in Fooly Cooly, voices basically like every Gainax anime and Studio Trigger anime since. I haven't checked. I know she's going to be in the show. It's just a question of which character she voices, because
she's going to pop up.
They always put her in stuff.
That's nice.
Yeah, she's
if I got
like
a job,
the human
you got a
VA
job.
mascot of Gainax now Trigger.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
That's and you can see like the Trigger influence too. Like throughout the whole thing, I'm like, oh my god, this is Promare. Like this is very
I don't know how many of the folks from Trigger are on it, but like
but like
people
that
who
DNA
Trigger are from Gainax, and like there's clearly collaboration between them, and they learned in the same house.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm excited.
I'm excited. You're excited. I mean, I guess my last question. You're a shoujo head, right? What do you think it will take for this to be loved by shoujo?
I mean, I don't know.
The Yuri.
It's a loaded question. To me, it like I.
Or do you think it has the potential to win over?
Can this cross over the mecha fans?
Right? I don't think so. Right now.
Yeah.
I would say a better intro is Witch from Mercury.
Yes.
Okay.
I think for me, like I've only seen 80 minutes of this, and then Witch from Mercury is my own. I still really, really like Witch from Mercury.
Okay.
If you ignore the first episode, like just considering, because the movie's basically 3 episodes, if you ignore the full history lesson, and it was episodes 2 and 3, would you feel better about, like, I could see getting it, like, starting this and giving it a few more episodes to see how, like, the cute characters start interacting together, the high schoolers?
Maybe. I mean, for me, what I really liked in Witch from Mercury specifically was it was the barrier to entry was low. You didn't feel like dumb watching it, right? Like you jumped in and you're like, oh, okay, this is like very elementary. They go to a school to learn how to be in Gundams, and like, obviously Zoetta has a cork essentially to be able to man these things very easily, and so like, and then seeing her kind of be at the center and develop, whereas like this one it feels like there's a lot of characters getting thrown at you, so you don't really know who to focus on yet. Like, my favorite character right now is Shoji.
Shoji. With this little robot, Shoji, yeah. Because he's goofy.
He's goofy.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm excited. I think the one thing I was missing out of these first 3 episodes, if you're watching Gundam, you want action and mechs. You also want, like, complex politics.
Yep, which this definitely has.
And horrors of war.
There wasn't horrors of war.
There's no horrors of war, and I think the complex politics outside... The first episode was... complex politics. Second episode, third episode, not yet. But they're
a little bit.
The pins are there.
You see the colony and the interplay between the people of the colony versus Bull's ship, but you don't understand.
If Witch from Mercury can get there, this can get there.
Yeah,
I trust them.
I mean, that's why I feel like it reminds me so much of like Cyberpunk Edge Runners and like even like the undertow of Attack on Titan, like where all like the rejects live. Like that's what this universe feels like to me.
There's something else happening.
Like this is the slums.
And there's all this stuff being orchestrated at the top.
Introduction of othering and lower classes, and the police are like treating this area basically like immigrants. And,
It is an ACAB universe.
Yeah. I mean, the MPs were pretty bad in that.
Yeah, they were pretty bad.
I mean, one of the guys opened fire and his own teammate was in the way. So, yeah, not the best MPs, but that's also pretty standard for Gundam.
And PAB.
Yeah.
Military police.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited. Well, we don't know when this is coming out. It's coming out sometime in 2025, presumably summer or fall season.
Do we know what streaming service or anything? Or
not
no?
yet.
Mubi? Tubi? Is there another one that has Ubi?
No.
Kodubi?
Kodan
Billy.
Kodan Shubi?
Kodan Shubi.
Yeah, no, we don't know when this is coming out. We don't know how it's streaming.
But it's G-Kids.
I mean, it's G-Kids is distributing it, so you have to assume it'll be relatively. I mean, maybe it'll be on multiple platforms.
Yeah.
It'll definitely
at least for the U.S.
pushed out.
But I mean, it's Gundam, so it'll be made available for most places in the world. They're usually pretty good about that.
Yeah, I'm also excited to see who the English VA cast is going to be.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll have to see.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, I heard Alex Lee is voicing all of the characters. That's definitely true.
Oh my god.
Spread that.
He's definitely going to be in at least one of them.
Yeah, right. Okay. I think that's it. We enjoyed it. More news hopefully to come later, but you have an opportunity to see the movie in IMAX, I think on the 26th. They're doing a limited release, and it's out Friday, the 28th in theaters.
Yeah,
I sure hope the 28th is a Friday, now that I've said that. If I'm wrong, correction.
Wait, today is a Friday?
Yes.
Yeah.
And today's the 21st?
Yes.
Yes. So yeah, I got it right. So yeah, if you're interested at all, I thought it was worth seeing in theaters. Get out there, check it out, and then you'll just get really excited and wonder when you're going to get the rest of it.
And if this is your first Gundam, do not get discouraged.
Yeah, the first episode, you don't need to remember everything. I didn't understand 80% of the proper nouns being used. It didn't matter.
Enjoy your popcorn bucket.
Yeah, watch the Gundams battle.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yep. See you later.